the Berg Podcast. Today we're talking about what's on the horizon. With me, I've got Dan.
Hey, everybody.
And Ford.
Hey, what's going on?
So we're talking about some things that are coming up, things both here inside of the Berg world as we know it, and some things outside of the Berg world as we know it. A little bit of travel, some future jobs. Let's talk a little bit about schedule. I know we're in the heart of the winter here, but we've got some things on the horizon, some things planned that I think maybe be interesting to the guys to hear.
Yeah, we've had a solid backlog for some time now, and that's continued. We locked down a few jobs already. Scott and Mike have been doing a really nice job of getting stuff locked in for special projects and commercial. So we've really seen a successful winter season there as they continue to bid. So we got a few jobs to that ahead of us. Landfill's got some work in front of it through May or June easily. So we're in a real good position. We feel strong about it, and we're also able to keep going with Longwood's running through the winter. Rolling Hills is running through the winter, and then we're just trying to balance the snow work that comes in as it comes with the other work, and make sure that we're not putting too much stress on anybody, but keep everybody going and keep everybody working and showing up every day.
Yeah, I'm not involved in that a whole lot. So how hard is that, balancing that schedule, making sure our guys are spread out as appropriately as we can?
Yeah,
don't be disagreeing there. I saw you out there driving a tractor helping us out there that last storm because we were a little short on people. I mean,
well,
you saw what it was overnight.
Everyone's got to do their part, right? I knew when you came to me, you were desperate. So,
well, I can't even speak to that storm because it was. I had said to Bryan earlier. Ford and I actually didn't talk about it, but I was away, and it's the first time I've been away in a storm in probably 3 years, maybe. I remember we were in a storm. I was flying back. I was in Chicago, and we were trying to manage the storm from the airport in Chicago. So I remember that. But this was with me genuinely away. Team did an outstanding job. I mean, they just, first real storm, knocked it out of the park. Clients were happy. And I was building snowmen with my daughters and skiing in the middle of a snowstorm back here. So I appreciate it personally on a personal level to be able to get away and just enjoy winter, which I do like, without having to be here. But to get to your question, it is tricky because, the guys work hard all year. And there's a lot of guys out there who've been with other companies who some of them shut down and they're sort of used to that. Berg doesn't shut down. We continue to run them. We view it as a positive that we keep people employed year round. But so first we're trying to balance, the first piece is just trying to balance guys who want to have a little bit of off time. They don't want to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week all winter. And then the other part is, it hits and they know they have to work and we have to come in, but we also have commitments that we have to have a few jobs running. So we need to have people there. I'm not going to single anybody out, but there was people who came in and did a little bit of night work to help out because we were caught and we weren't caught, but the first storm you always want to be super prepared for. You want to put your best foot forward because the owner, it's their first run in with the winter, and every winter they forget what snow's like. So we had a couple guys who came in, worked a couple hours, then went to their regular job. But we were able to do a good job of dividing it up so people didn't get hung out to dry and having to work ridiculous hours. And that, the more mature, I guess, we get, the more we realize that, we have to take that into account and be mindful of it.
Right. Yep, for sure. Yeah, it's a tough balance. I mean, because the storm's so unpredictable, right? I mean, we see it coming a few days out, but you never really know how much resource you're actually going to need until probably 12 hours, 6 hours before the actual snowstorm. So a lot of it's adjusting on the fly, I would assume.
Well, that's also with like the scheduling of it and getting that communication out to people. That's one of the things we're constantly trying to improve on is that, unfortunately we might know 12 hours before a storm, but 12 hours before a storm might be 8 o'clock at night for the next day. And then people are, trying to not get their message and trying to understand where they're supposed to be. And sometimes within 2 hours of the storm, we're switching people around because someone couldn't make it or things happen with different stuff. And sometimes that gets a little lost in the sauce as we go through it. But, we're always trying to improve that as well because of the fluidity of snow. And, hey, also not only that, but we have different locations and each location might have a different need just based on the way that the storm track is going. So that's one thing that I really enjoy about snow is that it's on demand decision making. Like you got to make it right there, right now. There's no you can plan the best you can, but once you get there, it's minute by minute. That's the only way to make the decisions in that business.
Yeah. For sure. And like a lot of companies, this is their slow time of the year, at least in the Northeast. This is when they kind of slow down. Maybe they lay their folks off and do some other stuff. And we get a little caught up in trying to do that other stuff too, right? I mean, I know, Dan, you've got some travel coming up for some educational purposes and business development purposes. Same with Ford and I. So that adds actually probably a little complexity or maybe potentially more stress for how we schedule.
Yeah, it does. Because you're trying to take the winter and you're trying to continue to work for the jobs that you need to work that can be productive and efficient. And you're trying to manage these snow clients that we've had historically for a very long time. But you're also trying to improve your team, whether it be through training or classes or peer groups or other things that each of us are in and the team attends. And you're trying to balance those things. And that does become difficult. I know if we go in order, I think the first one's traveling is probably Ford and I. Ford and I are going to be going out to Ohio for a couple of days, looking at some opportunities in Ohio that we believe exist. And so we're gonna take a look at that. Ford, you may want to speak to sort of what we're up to out there, what we're thinking about.
Well, yeah, another thing we always joke about is if you want a snowstorm to come, just plan on traveling, right? I mean, that's literally the joke of the entire thing. It's like, all right, if I circle that date on the calendar to be somewhere, there's like a 99.9% chance we're going to have some kind of weather, right?
So there'll be some disruption.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that, in our current market here, we have a nice niche that we're working within. We're always looking for new opportunities. And this thing in Ohio is a new opportunity in a new location. As we grow, there's the three thing. Dan can always help me with it, but you have to know somebody, you have to know the work, or what's the third one, Dan?
You got to know
the place, know the work, know the people.
Exactly. And so this one in Ohio, we know some people out there, and we know some of the work. And so we want to at least look at it. We always want to have our eyes and ears open to all the different opportunities that there are. To be able to create new opportunities within the company for people, and also to allow us to try new things.
Yeah, right. And it's tough to pick and choose too, because there's a lot of cool like trade shows and stuff this time of the year, right? Concrete World, I think, is happening next week, and so like trying to figure out where do we spend our time that's the most valuable. Business development, obviously, being pretty high on the list, then followed by some education opportunities and some training. So,
and Bryan, you're traveling. I think you travel second on the list. You're headed out of town as well on some peer group stuff.
I am, yeah. So one of the nice things about being in the Northeast is when people set up travel arrangements for this time of the year, you usually are going west or south, right? So
they don't want to come hang out with you in the middle of January or February.
Nobody wants to come to the Northeast in January. No, I am. I'm actually. I'll be traveling next week for a few days. I'm a member of CFMA, Construction Finance Managers, which is a cool opportunity for me to get around some peers in the construction industry, find out what their companies are going through, experience maybe some new software, some new tools, some strategies, understand how they've grown or how they've adjusted. We've looked at some new accounting software, and we're going through the process of thinking, if we make a transition, what does that look like? So I look forward to kind of picking their brains next week. That'll be good. And then you and Dan, you and Brad got conference coming up. Shortly after that.
So Brad and I are going to be out of town early in April for a few days. So we were out of town in the fall. Thought it was really productive, to engage Brad and bring Brad into it, to have somebody just outside of myself or Ford or you engaged and seeing sort of how we make the decisions we do and how we arrive at where we want to go and where we think the best opportunity is. And it also gives me another look, because it's, you got to be very careful that you don't get like siloed into just if the only opinion you hear is yourself, you're always right. And that's really dangerous. For me, it was really important to bring Brad in as somebody who I trust and I value, and Brad be able to sort of give me some feedback on where he thinks, we're going in the right direction, and maybe with his ear closer to the ground, some areas that we need to improve on, some areas that we need to focus on and try and help the team be better and support them in different ways. So we'll be out of town in April.
And actually, we have two things before that. One is beginning of February with the peer group that I'm in with that used to be through Caterpillar. I go twice a year. Once a year, we go to a location and have like a speaker and kind of learn some things. It's about 12 different companies around the country. And then the other time in the year, usually in the fall, we go somewhere and actually like go to another company's offices, go out to their job sites, see how they're doing things, see if they're using different techniques that we don't use here in the Northeast or even within our own company. So this time of the year was one we don't go to a company, but we just kind of all get together and learn from each other as we can. And then I think when I get back from that, another couple weeks after that, then Bryan and we're going to go to a really exciting thing, our insurance meeting.
Yeah, we got coming up here in March. We've got our annual or semi-annual insurance meeting we got to be a part of. So because we're part of that captive insurance group, our group
that we're yet to explain at some point.
Yeah, we do need to get into some detail there. It's not as exciting as it sounds. We talk about it a lot, but it's not that exciting. It's still insurance. So.
I don't know that it sounds that exciting.
Well, all right. Maybe it never sounded exciting. It just consumed so much of my time. I'd like for it to be interesting. So,
okay.
Oh, yeah. It's just helped. The exciting part is that we control our own destiny, which is something that in the insurance world we don't get a very many chances to do. So that's why it's exciting, at least from our perspective.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. So we'll have that meeting here in the spring. Go over the annual finances. Talk about what's coming up in regards to fall renewals, et cetera. So that'll be a good opportunity. Again, meet with other construction folks in a variety of industries who are all interested in keeping their folks safe and seeing what they can do to sort of control their premiums, et cetera. So
I think if there's something you could take away from this particular podcast, it's, the team doesn't necessarily see where we're going forward, Bryan and I, or what we're up to when we're not around here. And I think this type of a podcast is helpful because it lets them see how much of the time when we say, hey, we're going to be out of town for a couple of days, that we're actually out of town trying to make things better, trying to find a better opportunity, trying to find a better way of getting things done, or trying to find the best possible, insurance avenue that we can. And how much really goes into that to trying to deliver this, the back end of what we do to the guys and to the team out there and try and really make us who we want to be as a company.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the big things, we talk about some of this stuff ad nauseum at times. I mean, but we had a conversation the other day. We were sitting doing a job wrap up, talking about overhead, right? And overhead is basically everything that happens here in the office that is cost that doesn't necessarily contribute to how we make our money, and we'll talk about that at some point. But that's a big driver, is how do we make sure that overhead stays down? One of the ways is by either figuring out how to be more efficient at some of the things we do, or how do we literally just find better costs, lower costs. So, yeah, good point.
Yeah, I think the overhead is, we won't get too far into that, but that is, everything that isn't on the job. And so, educational process, last year, or was it 2 years ago with COVID, we had to kind of put brakes on it, but we were sending some of the younger guys through some like leadership training courses, and we have some other stuff that we have some safety training we were coming up, and we just did the first aid training for everybody, and all this stuff is like, it's a continuation, a lifelong learner type scenario. And I don't think there's anybody that's ever seen anything. I don't know, there might be a couple guys like Gary that have seen everything in their life, but for some of us, we're just constantly learning and trying to figure out something new. So that's why we have to sometimes jump out of our shell, jump out of our offices, and go see some other things to help us gain some new knowledge.
Yep, for sure. Cool. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Like I said, we got a handful of things coming up here on the horizon. Just because it's winter doesn't mean we're slowing down. So look forward to talking to you guys again, and keep pushing forward. Thanks.